Welcome to the third topic on this particular unit on HR for non-HR managers. The topic is on human resource policies. So we say policies are continuing guidelines on the approach of the organization intends to adopt in managing its people. So guidelines mean that policies are meant to tell us if we are supposed to undertake a particular HR activity, for example, recruitment. It tells us how we are supposed to do it. If it's internal, then the policy tells us the organization uses internal recruitment. If it's external, the policy also gives us an idea of how it does that particular activity. And a very interesting sentence that the policies help us to identify how the things are done in a particular organization. The aim of human resource policies. So what are these guidelines meant to achieve for the organization? The first one is enable the organization to carry out its main objective in a desirable manner. So the main objective would be having the right kind of promotion activities, the right kind of recruitment activities, objective of profit maximization, objective of growth. So we can develop policies around ensuring those things are working. The other one is ensure employees are informed of the expectations and secure their cooperation. So policies will also tell employees what is expected of them and what is exactly that they are supposed to do. The third one is protect common interest of all parties. Remember, in every organization, everyone has an interest. Employees have an interest, the employer has an interest. So those common interests that have brought us into the organization are guided by policies, and we know how the way to be able to move forward. The other one is provide for consultative participation by employees in management. Consultative participation is where we involve employees. Yeah, so we can also have what we call a participation policy or a participative policy. That is simply to state that everyone views are welcome and they will be accommodated in the decision-making hierarchy of the organization. The other one is another aim of human resource policies is provide security for employment. So we can have employment policies, those that guide your relationship with the organization. Is it a long-term contract? Is it a short-term contract? Is it a permanent kind of a contract or permanent job? All those ones are defined by these policies. The other one is provide opportunity for growth in the organization. So policies give us an opportunity to be able to grow, to be able to move forward, because every area is very well addressed, and we seek to satisfy individual needs around whatever policies we are coming up with. The other one is provide for payment of fair and adequate wages. By that, we are referring to the remuneration policy. It should guide us on how we conduct payment, how we go about it, and the way that we can be able to succeed in ensuring that every employee is satisfied. And lastly, on the H, we want to create a sense of responsibility for those that are in authority. So we develop policies so that those that are in authority can also have a guiding tool. We do not want to have management or human resource managers who just wake up and decide, today I am sacking employee X. We need to follow policies, dismissal policies, also being guided by the employment law. What does it say? Because some of these policies also, as we develop them, we look at what the employment law states around a particular subject. Then we have the characteristics of sound personnel policy. The first one, they are definitive, positive, clear, and easy to understand. So these policies, by reading them, they can define themselves. For example, remuneration policy. For example, promotion policy. And they also need to be positive. They talk positively about how an activity is to be carried out. And also, every employee should be quickly able to understand these particular policies. Number B is written so as to reserve it against loss and prevent promulgation of numerous differing and temporary oral policies from multiple sources. So we put policies in writing. We want to prevent loss. We want to prevent duplications of copying of similar policies, or we want to have them not differing with what we are saying orally and what we are saying in writing. So the best thing is to write, and we include them as part of the induction programs of the organization. The other one is policy should be reasonable, stable, but not rigid, be periodically revised, evaluated, and assessed. Yeah, so if we are talking about a remuneration policy, whatever statements we are talking about how we remunerate should be reasonable. You should be able to pay your employees reasonable amounts. The other one is be in tune with the challenges of the environment. The other one is be formulated with due regard to the interest of the concerned parties. So the major concerned party here is employees. So as we think about developing these guidelines around promotion, around drug abuse, around recruitment, we need to have the employees in mind. Characteristics of sound personnel policies be as a result of careful analysis of available facts. This is a continuation. So as we develop policies, if it's on recruitment, if it's in promotion, what are the available facts in terms of how the organization has been recruiting? We are going to see some of the sources on where we develop these policies. The other one is they should be consistent with public policy. Public policy means that they should be consistent with the laws of the land. I have just quoted what we call the employment law. What does it say? When we are developing these policies, we consider these laws so that we can integrate them into the policies, because overall we are guided by the public policy. The other one is must have the support of the management and workers. That is also very, very critical. So that tells you that we cannot develop policies from the moon. We have to have what we have called participative engagement between management and workers. What do you think around promotion policy? Some would prefer it to be done based on qualification. Some would prefer it to be done based on experience. So we sit down and discuss as human resource personnel and practitioners to be able to ensure that this is achieved. And lastly, be uniform throughout the organization. So we want to have policies that encourage uniformity. We do not want different policies serving Department X from those that are serving Department Y. Overall, it is the same organization, and we should be guided by the same policies. We also look at the origin and sources of personnel policies. Number A is past practice of the organization. So we look at, as we develop policies, how has the organization been doing quite a number of things. We consider that. We look at prevailing practices in sister organizations and the environment. So we can borrow from our sister organizations, we can borrow from other people what they are doing, and we bring those ideas. We are not necessarily saying that we copy. We can just borrow ideas. We can see how, by the way, how do you develop your human resource or your recruitment policy. Another source of human resource policies is attitudes, ideals, and philosophy of the directors or the managers. So what do the directors believe in? And so on and so forth. Knowledge and experience gained from handling day-to-day personnel problems. Based on experiences, we can have different ways to come up with policies. Employee suggestions and complaints. So employees can give a suggestion. Collective bargaining programs. Collective bargaining programs are agreements between unions and employers. So whatever has been agreed, when it's written down, we call that collective bargaining. So if there are those things that brought problems around strikes and anything, once that has been sorted, we can see how to develop policies around that. The other one is government legislation or government laws. I have talked about employment law, a good example that should be able to guide us as we develop policies. A continuation of the origin, we have changes in the economic environment, matters around inflation. Economic environment is matters around inflation, like now around the world, cost of living or cost of prices has gone up. So as we develop maybe remuneration policies, we can put into consideration the levels of inflation, the culture of the business, extent of unionism, that is the extent of employees' engagement with the unions. The other one is attitudes and social values of the labor force. So what do the employees believe in? We can incorporate that as we develop policies. The other one is goals of the organization. So where do we want to be in the next few years in terms of growth, in terms of profit maximization? We can encompass all that as we develop a number of policies. Then we have technological changes, changes in technology. Like I said before, we are now adopting policies around the use of what we call virtual offices, Zoom platforms, all that. We can develop policies around what we call flexi-time working hours within the organization, that you can work from wherever you are. HR policy areas, we have equity. So this is simply treating employees fairly. We have consideration, taking into account individual circumstances when making decisions. So every circumstance is different. Work-life balance, we can also have policies around that. So how are employees able to manage or balance between work and life? Quality of life, the consciously and continuously aiming to improve the quality of working life. So how do we ensure satisfaction of employees? And also what we call working conditions, providing healthy and safe working conditions. Then we have policies around promotion policy. So it states how the organization conducts its promotion activities. We have employee development. This is policies around how do we improve the skills of employees, how do we make them continue to improve on their knowledge and skills, like we mentioned on our topic on training. Then we have a reward policy. This one, of course, talks about how the organization rewards. Is it an equitable pay system? Equitable work for equitable work of value that you have done, equitable pay should be provided. And lastly, we look at other policy areas is around involvement and participation, employee participation, which is quite critical. So it should be stated if the organization accepts employee participation and how they go about it. The other one is employee relations. The employee relations policy will set out the organization's policy to the rights of employees to have their interests represented to the management. Lastly is on policies regarding health and safety. So we provide a safe environment. Around this policy, as we develop it, also we are guided by what we call the Health and Safety Laws or the Health and Safety Act. So how can the organization be able to provide safe working environments? That should be stated in the policy, so that if it is your right to get protective clothing in your workplace, it is already put in policy. What happens when you get accidents? What happens when you get injuries in the workplace? Health and safety policy should be able to cure all that. So thank you. I hope that particular topic has been of great understanding to you.